So we're looking at fraction and decimal equivalents. So it's easy when we have $1 to start with the decimal place, the decimals, because we often write $1 just like this with a decimal, okay? So now if you think about it as a fraction, this is one whole dollar. You could write it like this, that's one whole, or you can kind of think of it as 100 cents out of 100 cents. So if we look at this, you can see that these two things are equivalent. 1.00 is equal to 100 over 100, or 1 over 1. Now, if we're thinking about this in terms of fractions and decimals, here you've got a quarter. So we could write it as a quarter. Another way you can write it is 25 cents out of 100. Now, what's great about this is we use the word 1/4, so it's easy to see that 25 cents out of 100 is equivalent to 1/4. So here you could write these like this. And when you try to think about these written as decimals, we write them like this: 0.25, 0.25, 0.25. So when you think about it, sort of overall, 1/4 is equal to 0.25. Those are equivalent. You could also just as easily have written 25 100ths is equal to 0.25. That's easier to sort of see, but in your head, if you think about using the word 1/4 here, it's easy to remember that 1/4, or 1 out of 4, is equal to 0.5. Now, if we're looking at fractions to decimals, if we write it as a fraction, 1/4, just to kind of simplify things, is equal to 0.25. Let's look at 3/4. So look, there are actually 3/4 here. So if we write this as a fraction, which is 3 out of 4, and we know that that's 75 cents. Another way we could write this is 75 out of 100, because we know we've got 25 cents, 50 cents, 75 cents. So that's our 75 out of 100, which is equal to 75. Now we're looking at this. So fractions, we've got 50 cents or half a dollar. So we could do 50 out of 100, or you could write this as a half of a dollar. As a decimal, we write it as 0.5. We could add this if we want to. We do not write 0.05 because that would be 5 cents, which is different than 50 cents. Your task is to continue to fill this out, fill out this chart. Remember that right here, it's a bit of a trick. Do you write as a fraction, do you write 3 out of 100? Or do you write, or do you write 30 out of 100? Which one? And then with your decimal as well, how do you write 3 cents? The trick in this one right here at the very bottom is to think of your fraction. It's going to be, it's over one whole. So how do you write $1.01? And then think about it as a decimal as well. How do you write $1.01?